Alright YouTube, so we've been talking a lot about Red XIII for most of the year, pretty much since we started getting info again for Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then once we started getting more character reveals outside of Cloud and Barret, we noticed a distinct lack of Red XIII. So it's been a topic of discussion for quite a while now about whether or not he's actually going to be in this game, and if he is in this game, is he going to be playable? Now, obviously, it stands to reason that he should be in this game. We know that it's supposed to be the entire Midgar segment based on the story synopsis that tells us it goes up to the point of actually escaping Midgar, which obviously takes place after raiding the Shinra building where we save Aerith and come across Red XIII and he joins our team. So based on that alone, he should be in this game. But if he is in this game, can he actually join our team? Will he just be a guest character? Can we actually control him and fight with him? Or they just set him up for the sequels? Which is something people have been talking about for a while now, and it actually makes a lot of sense. When you think about it, with the original game, the Midgar segment, we get him on our team, he does a handful of fights with us, and then we get outside of Midgar. There's no real character development up until Cosmo Canyon, and after that, he kind of goes by the wayside. He's not really that important of a character to the overall story of Final Fantasy VII. And obviously, Cosmo Canyon is not something we're going to see in the first game. So when you think about it, if we're comparing it to the original game, it actually makes a lot of sense that he would not be a playable character in the first game for Final Fantasy VII Remake. That being said, however, this is a remake, and there might be a lot of things to do after we raid the Shinra building. We may not just hop on the highway and leave Midgar like we did in the original game. There might be other things to do. We just have no idea yet. But why we're here today is we have a little bit of evidence that leans towards whether or not he is or isn't a playable character within this game. And it comes from a rather unlikely source, and it's actually like the promotional materials we've seen for the game, like pre-order bonuses and things. So this comment was left in my video the other day that says he's not on those lanyards that Square Enix is giving out with pre-orders. Which is something I hadn't even thought about or considered, but they're right. Like, if you get a physical copy of the game from the Square Enix store, you get this exclusive lanyard that has only Cloud, Barret, Tifa, and Aerith on it. And if Red XIII was a prominent character in this game, or a playable character, odds are very likely that he'd be on something like this. But it's not even just that. There's other stuff like the Play Arts figures. We've seen Cloud, Tifa, Barret, and Aerith, and there might be other ones like Sephiroth or something, I'm not entirely sure. But there's definitely not a Red XIII one that we've seen so far. And again, if he was a playable character or an important character to the story or this game, you'd think there'd be one. There's also those updated key arts that we've seen in the past, couple weeks to couple months. We've seen Aerith, Barret, Tifa, Cloud, Sephiroth. But of course, we've yet to see an updated key art for Red XIII, and those other images all came out relatively close together outside of the Cloud one. That was revealed a while back. And that's the thing too, we're just about 2 months until this game comes out, and we've yet to even see Red XIII in any sort of capacity. They haven't even hinted at him. You think, we haven't seen like a flaming tail randomly really quickly, we haven't seen like a chamber in the background of the Shinra building that he would possibly be in. Like nothing. They've not hinted at him at all, which kind of makes it all add up at this point. Because I've said in the past that it's weird that there hasn't been a character reveal. We've seen Tifa, Aerith, and Sephiroth, which are definitely bigger character reveals than Red XIII. It never made sense to me why they're hyping it up and not showing him. And maybe it's because he's not important to this game. As in, he's not an important character to this story, because we'd only get him, like, probably near the end of the game, right? Because we're going to get Tifa, Barret, Aerith, and Cloud at the very beginning of the game, more or less. We get Barret and Cloud right away, then we meet up with Tifa, we go hit the other Mach reactor, Cloud falls down to Sector 5, meets Aerith. That's all going to happen relatively quickly within the remake. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of new stuff and expanded. It's going to maybe even several hours, but we're going to get those 4 playable characters near the beginning of the game, more or less. And then we'd go through most of the entire game with just those 4 playable characters, and then we'd randomly get Red XIII at the end. It kind of makes sense that he would not be a prominent character. But it still doesn't make sense to me why we haven't had a character reveal unless he's just not in the Shinra building anymore. What if they're saving Red XIII until the sequel, to the second game? What if he's not even a part of this game in any sort of capacity? I don't know how you do a character reveal like in the story for Red XIII outside of the Shinra building with the chamber, Hojo, and all that other stuff. I don't know how you do it, but it's just kind of weird we haven't seen him yet. Because even if he's not a playable character, he could still be in the game. We come across him in a similar fashion, but maybe he doesn't join our party or our team as a playable character, maybe just a guest character. He just fights the specimen enemy and then the 100 gunner and motorball and all that other stuff with us, but as a guest character. It's a pretty interesting discussion, man, because when you think about it, obviously they're trying to sell as much promotional items as they can, right? They want to make as much money as they can off of this game. And if Red XIII was in this game or a part of this game or whatever, you'd think they'd be selling Red XIII like figurines, like, Play Arts figurines or whatever. There'd be some key art for him or a character reveal at this point or something, but there's not been any of that. So it makes you wonder if he's even in this game at all. But that's why it's a discussion video, and I pass off to you guys. So what are your thoughts on this? Because I hadn't considered this. Obviously, I was aware that he wasn't a part of the promotional items because we'd have talked about it if we seen him, a Play Arts figure or whatever. We'd have talked about it because that would have been our first look at the character in the modern era. But I hadn't considered that him not being a part of those things could actually mean that he's not a part of the game at all, at least in a relevant capacity. So I definitely want to hear your thoughts on this, because we haven't seen Red XIII at all in any sort of capacity, be it promotional item, key art, or just in-game in a trailer at all. We've not seen the character. Do you think he's going to be in the first game for Final Fantasy VII Remake? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new and want to update more Final Fantasy VII Remake content. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at @TheDashingDavid. And my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me a smile, give me forever for a while, give me forever.